Jesus sentenced to die by crucifixion. The last text for this evening is found in Luke, chapter 23, verses 24 through 25. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And he released unto them him that for sedition and murder was cast into prison, whom they had desired. But he delivered Jesus to their will. In Luke's account, Jesus was brought to Pilate. He was brought to Pilate being accused of perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself was Christ a king. As we look at verse number 24, Pilate's role was the Roman governor who gave the official sentencing, the sentencing of crucifixion to Jesus. But when you really read that verse again, it clearly articulates, using the words as they. He gave that sentence under pressure. So first, it's really important to look at the role and understand the role of the Roman governor. They were expected to keep peace. They were expected to keep peace in their region. Therefore, Pilate knew. He knew if any reports were sent back to Caesar of insurrection or that uprising in his region, it wouldn't be good for him. It could cost him his career. It could cost him his position as the Roman governor. It could maybe even cost him his life, death. So in Scripture, leading up to this point, when Jesus was brought to Pilate, in order to keep the peace, he had to entertain this accusation. The process started with a simple but direct question. Art thou the King of the Jews? After hearing the answer, Pilate stated, I find no fault with this man. Yet the people were still agitated. So here he falls into the first trap, trying to please the people. Because he sees that they were still agitated, he then begins to question deeper. But then Pilate realizes that Jesus falls into Herod's jurisdiction. It's important to note that Pilate and Herod here, at this point, were in a state of enmity, meaning opposition. So first, wanting to be politically respectful, he immediately sent him to him. However, looking at it also from Pilate's standpoint, I bet this was a big relief to him. He had a problem in his own house, and he was very happy to get rid of that problem and send it and push it off to Herod. So Herod had his chance to interrogate Jesus. And interesting that same day, Pilate and Herod in Scripture became tied back peacefully in friendship. And now Pilate had a supporter with rank and someone who agreed with him. Pilate and Herod at this point both found nothing worthy of death for Jesus. Yet here is where the people make their demands. So when we look at verse 25, who do they want released? Who is it that they are calling for? The people want Barabbas instead. This man, Barabbas, had been thrown in prison with charges of sedition and murder. So Pilate tries again. Yet now the people are chanting. Their chants were loud and prevailed. And in verse 25, Jesus was sentenced to die to the will of the people. Now we here tonight, we can understand and know that this was God's will. This was part of his complete and perfect plan. But it is a series of sad events. However, we can look at this and learn. And here are some of the takeaways. 3 specific times Pilate found no fault and was willing to release Jesus. Makes me wonder why that number of 3 times again we heard tonight. 3 times for him to finally give in. And why did he cave? The first trap, again, trying to please people. So even in the world that we live in today, we have to focus on the motive behind everything that we do. More importantly, we need to ask the Lord in prayer. The second trap, he caved into the pressures around him and he gave in to sin. He knew and he had verbally said 3 times, I find no fault with this man. Yet, he gave in. And when we see right from wrong and we choose the wrong, we have sinned. So we must be careful not to fall into the trap of caving into the pressures around us. So what does that mean for us? That means maybe ending friendships, maybe missing out on events, maybe changing careers, maybe not watching movies or shows that go against our Christian morals and beliefs. We can make a stand and not cave and let those loud voices prevail. I also find those loud voices are actually a small number of people. But sometimes when we think it's a large group of people, but in reality it's not. It's just those groups of people are loud and they're forceful, and that's their tactic. When someone chants your name, it motivates you sometimes to give in and do what they want you to do. Although maybe it's not always bad pressure. It can be good pressure. But when they put you on the spot, it heightens that question. So tonight I close with, seek the Lord and ask him to help you resist those pressures.